All right, Justice League character rankings part 3 coming up right now. All right, so this list is getting huge. It is almost not even fitting on my screen properly, so I had to shrink it down a little bit. But we still have quite a few characters here to go. So let's go up with who's next. John Kent. And that one's an easy one for me. He's being moved into backups. Now, he would be a good potential starter if he was a little bit older and if Superman wasn't around, but I think the All-Stars and the starters got it covered. I think John Kent is certainly more suited for a Teen Titans or a Young Justice. Next up, we have another character from the Super family. That would be Kara Zor-El. And actually, I'm putting Kara in the starter. She's not an all-star in the sense of being a main Justice League character, but she could certainly be a starter in any Justice League team that would need her. Also, too, I think if it was like a Justice League International or a Justice Society, she could make a case for being an all-star. Now, before I started this video, I saw Katana here, and I've been kind of racking my brain where I want Katana to be. Katana's sword is very powerful. She can cut through Kryptonian skin with that sword, I'm pretty sure, and do a couple other things. I don't see her as being a backup or a starter by any means, but I don't want to cut her because I do like her. I'm just going to put her in the Benchwarmers. She is a worst case scenario, call her up. Kate Kane, Batwoman, just for argument's sake, I'm going to put her in Benchwarmers as well. I could 100% see her being a character that people would be like, nah, cut her. And I could also see her being a character that people would say, no, put her in the backups. I'm just going to put her in Benchwarmers. I'm really undecided. Just keep that seat warm for us. And if anything were to happen, like I keep saying, worst comes to worst, maybe you can fill in. Next up, you have Kevin Coe, which I actually believe that's just another version of OMAC. And as we all know, OMAC is stupid powerful, and I believe certain versions of him, he's like literally a walking computer, a very high-tech walking computer. I'll put him in backups. He certainly isn't Justice League material, but just in case they needed his specialties in anything, he's a backup character. Kilowog is another backup. I really like Kilowog. I think he's a really cool Green Lantern. Do I think that he'd be a Green Lantern the Justice League would call on if there weren't others available, like the All-Stars? Yes. Now you have Knight, which I believe is Kirill Sheldrake. If no one really knows who this character is, they're somewhat interesting, but they're a complete knockoff. He's basically a knight or an earl to a king, and they're inspired, him and his son, which is the Squire, are inspired by Batman and Robin, so they somewhat dress up very similar to them and enact justice the way Batman and Robin does. I mean, if you look up pictures of Knight, he definitely looks cool, but we don't need many more members of the Bat family in here, and also, too, we don't need knockoff versions, so unfortunately, you're getting cut. Next, you have Kong Kanan, and he is the Superman of China. He gets his powers from Superman. I don't really know too much about him. I do know he's a little more aggressive in nature, but he is a hero. You can't go wrong with having super people as backups. Is he a starter? Absolutely not. But as a backup, I wouldn't complain. Kyle Rayner, he's another Guy Gardner for me, which means I'm actually going to put him right beside Guy Gardner. He's just another Green Lantern that, once again, if John and Hal aren't around, you would go towards Guy or Kyle. They are both capable of filling in their roles. Once again, Jessica Cruz. I'm just going to, put all these lanterns here together. Jessica Cruz, Kilowog, you can't go wrong with these lanterns. Next up is Lex Luthor, and this is an interesting one. I'm going to actually put Lex Luthor in a starting position. I know Lex Luthor is evil. I 100% understand. But there are times where Lex Luthor puts his differences to the side and does join up with the heroes. I am just putting him as a starter because, as for my opinion, I think if Luthor was a straight up hero, he would be a starter in a Justice League if not an all-star. You cannot pass up his intelligence and some of the technology he creates. Light Ray, he's a new god. He's the son of High Father, I think. Is he a starter in a Justice League? Nope, that's not where I would put him, but he's certainly a solid backup, a guy I would call on, especially if it came to fighting new and or old gods. Lobo, once again, more of an anti-hero type of presence, but I would put him in backups. He would be a good guy to call on if you need a heavy hitter and wasn't at the very moment hunting down Superman. Man-Bat, other than pure physical strength, I don't really know how much Man-Bat could do for you, just an unhinged animal. I'm going to put him in cut. Manitou Dawn, I don't know much about her other than she's a magical being. I think she's a couple of thousand years old too. Honestly, cut, released, don't really need you. Now we got Manitou Raven, which I believe he comes from the same area as Dawn, but he's a shaman and he's got some stupid powers. He's got like a power called chronokinesis where he can like alter and maneuver the astral plane and space and time. Not a starter, but he's a backup. I had to shrink the screen even more here. Martian Manhunter, All-Star. He's going into the All-Star spot, so we now have 5 characters in All-Star. And this was the point. All-Star was going to be kept a lot smaller than all the other sections here. I just think Martian Manhunter is a very important character to the Justice League. Next up, we have Mary Marvel. She's going straight into the starter. She's proved on many different occasions why she's worthy of being a starter and why she would even be an All-Star if this was a Justice Society list. Then you have Maxima from the planet Almerac, and at one point she was actually heavily involved with Superman romance-wise. She is on the good spectrum of characters. She has, of course, your typical super strength, durability, all that stuff, but she has a lot of powerful telepathy powers. That's why I'm going to put her in the backups. Mera. I'm putting Mera in the starters. Another stupid powerful character. She could fill in just as well as Aquaman. The way I see it is, let's just say Aquaman was part of the starting 7 Justice League. Mera could easily be part of the 7 for Justice League International. She can be quite interchangeable with many different groups and I think would be deserving of a starter spot. Metamorpho is next, and he can basically just bend and change and turn his body into any type of substance or element or state. He can be really powerful as well and useful for various situations. That's why I will put him in the backup. Then you have Michael Thomas, which is basically Starman, who came to Earth to be a hero amongst the people, as many of these characters have been. Although I just don't really think there's a place for him here. He's gonna go into cut. Then we have Mon-El, which is a 31st century descendant of Superman. If this was the Justice League in the 31st century, he'd be an all-star. But for this century, he's just going to be a backup. You can't go wrong with having powers like that. Next, you have Mr. Miracle. He is another very underrated character in DC who I believe is deserving of a starter position. I think if it's not going to be Justice League, he could fit into any other Justice League team and instantly become one of the mains. Which then also leads me with Mr. Terrific, another underrated, crazy intelligent, crazy powerful character in the starting position. Maybe not an all-star for the Justice League, but he certainly is a starter. Then you have Naomi, which I think there was a show made about her recently and it did not last past 1 season. She has a close-knit relationship with Superman from a different alternate universe. She does have a lot of force kinetic type energy, I believe. I'm gonna put her in cut/released. I don't really care for her character at all, so sorry about that. Next, you have Nightmare Nurse. She can be good and bad. She's pretty much neutral. She is categorized as a demonic healer, so she can still heal ya, but can she really be trusted? Healing capability is definitely a must. I think if this was Justice League Dark, she could be considered a starter or a top-end backup. For the Justice League, she's gonna be a bench warmer. I don't really see much use out of her other than her healing ability. But once again, can you trust her? I don't know if I could. Oberon, I couldn't figure out who he was by this picture. I had to look him up. He's basically a great escape artist. You're cut. Now you have Orion. Once again, another situation where he could be a fantastic starter and a high-end backup for certain leagues. For the Justice League, I think he would be a good backup, but for other Justice League teams, a fantastic starter. Pandora, which she also has Pandora's box, and we all saw what that could do in New 52. A very unstable character. She's also neutral. She can be good or bad. She pretty much just fights for herself. Can't really trust that all the time, but simply because of Pandora's box, I'm going to put her as a backup. And just like Kong Kanan, this is Peng Dailane, and she is basically the Wonder Woman of China. She will also go into backup. Next is Phantom Stranger. Not only is he a type of detective, but he is a super powerful detective. A detective who is almost nearly omnipresent and can literally travel through time, space, and dimensions. Because of that, I think he deserves a starting spot. Whether that be with the Justice League or any other Justice League team out there, he's up there. Plastic Man, I've been waiting for this one. This one was easy. Starter, 100%. He is 100% an all-star for a different Justice League team. Power Girl, another starter. 3 starters in a row. She is definitely a starter for a Justice Society or a Justice League International. Doesn't matter. If the Justice League needed to open their doors to some of these characters, she could fit in 100%, just like Supergirl. Ragman, another character with telekinetic powers, but also soul stealing. I'm going to put him in the backups. I think he'd be a good character to call on. To be honest with you, I got no idea who this character is. I can't put my finger on it. For that, I'm just going to put them in cut/released. Red Tornado, this is another really cool character. I think he's worthy of a starter position. For the Justice League, though, I'm going to put him in the backups. Resurrection Man. The only thing I know about this guy is that when he dies, he has the ability to come back with a different random power. That is kind of cool. I'll put him in the backups as well. You got 2 Rocket Reds. They're basically like good mercenaries with high-powered armor. I'm just going to cut them. We don't need them. Then you have Roy Harper. He's going into the backups. He is a high-end backup, even starter if Green Arrow isn't around. Shade, the Changing Man. Don't really know much about him. I just know that at one point he was part of Justice League Dark. Unfortunately, not for me. Silver Sorceress, another typical magic user. Don't think we need any more of you. Simon Bays, a Green Lantern, can't go wrong with them, but you know what? We have enough already. We're putting you in the Benchwarmers. All right, Sister Superior, she's another magician-based user. I believe she's really good with weapons, and I think she also, in a certain continuity, made the Justice League Elite, but I'm sorry, don't care for her character. Cut. Stargirl, another character, maybe for a Justice League International or a Justice Society you would fit, but for me, you're cut. Now, Starfire, here's another starter. And the more I thought about this one, I also gotta throw Dick Grayson in as a starter. Are they all-stars for a Justice League? No. But could they fit into a Justice League? 100%. So because of that, I had to change this. Steve Trevor, I don't mind his character. I think he's okay. There's really not much he could do for a Justice League, though, in my opinion. I don't even think he would be good enough for a bench warmer, even with his governmental pull. I'm going to have to cut him. Now you have the big dog, the top guy, Superman, and we are putting him in All-Star. I'm even going to put him right at the very front, right in front of Batman, because there is no Justice League without Superman. I don't even need to talk about this one too long. Now we have another starter in Swamp Thing. Would he be an all-star for Justice League Dark? 100%. But I still think he could find his place in a Justice League. Tasmanian Devil, I'm sorry, cut. Timothy Hunter, another magic-based user who, let's be honest here, literally just looks like Harry Potter. That's basically who he is. But I don't care. Cut. Tomorrow Woman, she is a super powered android. She has a ton of powers, and she was originally sent to destroy the Justice League before turning good and joining their side. I don't really know much about her, but when I did look up her abilities just to see what she has quite a lot of abilities, and because of that, I'll put her in backups. There's Triumph, and Triumph is an alright character. He can pretty much do what a lot of these other characters can already do. I'm gonna put him in Benchwarmers. Then you have Vibe, another character I don't necessarily dislike, but would he have room to be in the Justice League? No, you're getting cut. We also have Vixen, very similar to Animal Man in a way, but Vixen is gonna go into the backups because she can be quite powerful. Coming down to the last few here, we have Wally West, a character I've been waiting for a while, and I gotta be quite honest with you, I know some people may not agree with this, but this is my personal opinion. Wally West is going straight into the All-Stars. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I grew up with the Justice League where Wally was the main Flash. If I were to ever make my own DC universe, Wally West would be my main Flash. He is my favorite Flash. He's the fastest. He's the most powerful. Up to All-Star he goes. Then you have Walter West, who is from another dimension. He's another dimension's Wally, basically. And at one point, he came to the main timeline and took over as our Wally West. He even has an interdimensional speed he can travel at. I wouldn't put him as a starter, even though he has the power to be one, but I will put him as a backup. Then you have Wang Bixie. Quite the name, but this is Chinese Batman, and just like Chinese Wonder Woman and Superman, gotta respect it, gotta put him in the backups. Then you have William Payton, who's another version of Starman. He's from the Prime Earth. I think he's far more powerful though. Could he be an all-star or a starter for the Justice Society? Sure. But for the Justice League, I think he could be a good backup. Now you have another all-star and potentially the last all-star, Wonder Woman. Let me just scroll up the list to get her up here. And I'm going to put her right in front of Flash there. So there are your all-stars. I can tell you right now, no one else is going up here. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Barry Allen Flash, Wally West Flash, Hal Jordan and John Stewart Green Lantern, and Martian Manhunter. Now you have World Forger, who is like the son of Perpetua. I think his brothers are the Anti-Monitors or something like that. This guy is just like a 6th, 7th, 8th dimensional being. It would make no sense making him a starter in a Justice League, although under certain circumstances, you better be calling that guy up for some backup. Next is Yara Flor, and I believe she is another version of Wonder Woman. She took up as Wonder Woman for a little while Diana was absent. Because of that, she knows what it is to be Wonder Woman. Do we necessarily need her, though? I think it's the same situation with Jace Fox, Batman, and Batwing. We're gonna put her in Benchwarmers. Down to the final two, we have Zatanna. Look, I've made mention in my videos before that if I were to ever make a DC universe, my Justice League would contain Zatanna as a main Justice League member. Although, does that mean I think she is an all-star member? No, but she's certainly not a backup. She is a starter. She is a character that could fit right in with the Justice League, no problem. She would be an all-star for Justice League Dark, though. And last but not least, we have Zoriel, which is basically an angel. They have cosmic angel type abilities, quite powerful. I'm going to put them in the backups. Okay, so here is the list in its entirety. Of course, at the end of the day, All-Star is going to be the smallest category of them all because you can't have too many All-Stars in the Justice League at one time, or potentially even ever. Backups being the biggest and also cut/released. This could be a situation where there are some starters that I could think could be all-stars, or some backups that could be starters, or some backups that should be moved down to Benchwarmers and cut/released, or vice versa. My opinion could change on this within a month, 6 months, 1 year. This is all how I feel in the moment coming into this tier list raw and just picking as I come across them. So that's my list, but let me know in the comments below what you think of my list or what your list would even look like. At the end of the day, this is all personal preference, all personal opinion. There is no true or canon answer to this. This is just who you like. But that is all I have for you on this one, everyone. So until next time, I will talk to you all very soon.